We're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Saturday, November 29th. Yesterday, midday, 2 and 3. But shout out to the winners yesterday. The big one, I need to point out, Sam Houston, man. They walk into Idaho and, against all odds, go out there and win that tournament. I don't know how they did it. The referee, the officiating wasn't as bad in yesterday's game against the Vandals. But, I mean, they were not supposed to go into Idaho and win that four-man bracket between them, the two Idaho schools, and State and the Vandals. And, I guess, CSUN as well. They go in there, win 2 games. Shout out to Sam Houston. We'll be keeping an eye on the Bearcats all year long. I thank them a lot for their victories over in the last couple of days. So shout out to Sam Houston. Let's look for more victories here today, folks. Before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. I'll be honest, not many big games today. Feast week is kind of over for the most part. Atlantis is over. Players era is obviously over. Maui's over. So the big tournaments are done. You still get some of these other tourneys still going, but for the most part, we are looking at mid-major games today. Actually, looking at all 5 mid-major games today. I think that's where the best value is at, so let's look for it, folks. Before we get into it, again, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more NBA best bets coming out later today on the channel. College football, obviously, today it's a Saturday. Best bets and predictions on the channel as well. NFL predictions are up on the channel. Best bets are posted today at noon. Best player props today at 5 o'clock. Okay, on to the first of our 5 best bets today for college basketball, kicking things off with an early morning matchup of the Manhattan Jaspers and the Army Black Knights. Okay, I understand I've been very critical about Manhattan since the game that we picked them to cover against Hawaii, and they proceeded not to, and I've gone at them quite a bit when we've just mentioned Manhattan. I've said, well, their 2 best scorers are 5'9" and 5'11". Well, that may still be the truth. Obviously, nothing has changed, and I'll get into their 5-foot hoopers. They're essentially 6 feet tall, but it's okay. They should be able to beat a game like, they should be able to win a game, like Army. Army's atrocious. They're 2 and 6. They've only beaten one Division I school this season, and they are coming off a win, right? That is the victory that they're coming off of. A win at FDU, winning a game on the road by 8 points. Their other games this season, they played a Division II, SUNY Maritime, I don't know what that is, I'll be honest with you. St. Thomas, Minnesota lost. They played Duke and hosted Duke, obviously, right? And the Blue Devils went out there and beat them up by 60 points or 45 points, same to 55 points. They lost to Harvard at home by 23, went to Cornell, lost by 13 points. Marist is horrible. They went there and lost by 11. Play East Texas A&M in a neutral site game and lost to East Texas A&M Commerce. Yikes. Army's pretty atrocious. So again, I talk about the, 5'9", 5'11" hoopers for Manhattan and how, that didn't obviously work against Hawaii. It will be able to work, and obviously they play in the MAAC, so they can get away with playing their, short guys in this conference for the most part. Don't get me wrong, I think Iona is much better than them, and I don't even consider Manhattan to be a top 3 team currently in the MAAC. But anyways, I think it's obviously good enough to beat Army. The Army Black Knights, led by Ryan Curry and Jason Holloway. Curry is a junior. He's their point guard. Was one of the bright spots last year for the Black Knights. Averaged 13 points per game last year in 34 minutes for Army. He's been around now for 3 seasons, obviously. He is the best scorer on this team, but Holloway as well can score. He's their 2 guard, averaging 11 points per game again in his sophomore season. Jason Holiday has been pretty solid. He's seen a huge uptick in minutes from last season. Last year only played 9 minutes a game and appeared in most games for the Black Knights. This year, though, playing every single game, starting every single game. Jason Holiday has been absolutely massive for them. On the flip side, though, again, we talk about Manhattan and their 2 really good scorers. They're just both really short. And that, of course, is Jaden Winston and Devin Dinkins. Now, they are listed at 5'10" and 6 feet tall. Okay, so when we watched the Manhattan-Hawaii game, the Hawaii commentators said, yeah, Jaden Winston and Devin Dinkins, they're great. They're listed at 5'10" and 6 foot. They are really, I believe what they said was 5'9" and 5'10/5'11". I'll give Jaden Winston an inch. Pause. We're going to go say Jaden Winston's really 5'11" and Devin Dinkins is really 5'9". And, the Hawaii commentators acknowledge, well, of course, Manhattan doesn't want to put their best players 5'9", so they, bumped his height up a little bit. They didn't even know for sure he was 5'9" either. They said he could potentially be even shorter. And if you watch Devin Dinkins, you watch Jaden Winston, especially Dinkins, the dude's really short. Obviously, again, listed and billed at 5'10", might even be shorter than that. But the two guys can hoop. Devin Dinkins, one of the better scorers right now in the MAAC. Obviously, we have not hit conference play just yet, but last year Dinkins was an extremely effective scorer off the bench for the Jaspers. I came off the bench pretty much in every single game and scored 14 points per game. This is a player that started at George Mason and obviously transferred to Manhattan last year. Dinkins, when he's having good nights, he's really good. He will have nights, though, where he completely disappears scoring. That was the Hawaii game. Couldn't get going. Scored 6 points. This team went to A&M. Scored 7 points to Dinkins. But then he'll have nights like the Mississippi Valley State game where he scores 22. And in Manhattan's last game, it's an overtime loss to the Wagner Seahawks. 103-101. Really tough loss. Devin Dinkins doesn't come off the court. He plays the entire game, which he does sometimes. And he, I think partially him not playing well against Hawaii and, in that tournament, the Rainbow Classic, was because it was a tournament and you got to play on back-to-back nights. Obviously, you got to play a lot in a short amount of time. Guys, Devin Dinkins, off of 5 days rest going into the Wagner game, played every single minute. Scored 25 points, got to the line 14 times. Yeah, okay, so, he will see a high volume of shots. There's only been 2 days off for Manhattan going into this game, but I think it's enough for Dinkins to play majority of it. And then we look at Jaden Winston, right? The 6 foot, at least listed as 6 foot shooting guard. He can drop a lot of points as well. Again, dropped 21 in the Wagner game. Again, though, we looked at that Hawaii game where I've seen these guys play. The first time I really watched Manhattan this season live. Or no, it was the Utah Tech game, but still, it's not the first time we had U.S. currency on Manhattan, so my viewing experience was a little bit altered. Jaden Winston scored 6 points. So we're looking for a better night out of both Dinkins and Winston. I think, again, the lack of size for these guys will be fine against a Army team that's not extremely big either. I'm going to go with the Jaspers to win the basketball game on the road. Give me minus 135 for Manhattan on the road to beat the Army Black Knights. On to our second best bet of the video, we go to another mid-major game. I'm going to stop saying that because we have all mid-majors today. Let's go to Jersey City, New Jersey for the St. Peter's Peacocks taking on the Dartmouth Big Green. So staying in the MAAC here for St. Peter's. A 2-3 team this season, wins over the aforementioned Fairleigh Dickinson FDU, and their last game a win over UMass Lowell, winning the game by 2 points. Their losses this season at Seton Hall, at VCU, at Delaware. St. Peter's is yet to lose a game at home this season, so that's why we're going to be rolling with them here. They are 2-0 at home this year, and they are 0-3 on the road. Of course, they'll be hosting Dartmouth today. As for the Dartmouth Big Green, obviously out of the Ivy League, they've only played 4 games. A little odd. Only played 4 games. They've not played in 11 games going into this one. And that's interesting, different teams and different, just people in general have different mindsets of how to approach. I know this is going to sound very, UFC and MMA and really just cage fighting related, but ring rust, obviously, these two teams aren't going to be fighting, but they're going to be playing. Ring rust is real, and not playing basketball, though, in a span of 11 days. You can do all your shoot-arounds you want. You can do you can do however many, scrimmaging you want to do in practice. You haven't played an actual team in 11 days. And I think most of the Ivies, at least some of the Ivy Leagues, take the Thanksgiving week off for the most part and going into Thanksgiving. I know, Dartmouth definitely did this season. They don't play games. They don't go to tournaments and whatnot because they're such an academically rigorous school. I think that's how that works. That's my assumption there. I'm not going to lie. But Dartmouth hasn't played since November 18th, and they beat a Division II school. I don't even know if that's a D2 school. Maine Augusta. Last time they played a D1 opponent, Sunday, November 16th. That's 13 days ago when they played App State and hosted Appalachian State, losing a game by 8 points. Their other 2 games, lost to Marist by 19 on your own home court. Yikes, Marist is horrible. And losing at Bryant by 7. So again, my point with all this being, though, Dartmouth hasn't played a game against just anybody in 11 days. It's going to take you a while. And you can do however many, you can practice all you want. You can do all the shoot-arounds you want. You can do all the scrimmaging you want. I don't care. You now got to play another team that is trying to beat you on the road after not playing a competitive basketball game in 11 days. That's tough. And sure, St. Pete's hasn't played in 7 days, but I'm going to take a team that hasn't played in a week compared to a team that hasn't played in 11 days. And oh, by the way, the team that hasn't played in a week, they're 2-3. They've actually won a couple games. Dartmouth is 1-3 with only a victory over a Division II school. I don't even know if Maine Augusta is D2. I'm going to go St. Peter's here. They're at home. They played more recently, and I just don't love 11 days off for Dartmouth. It's not like they're going 11 days off and you get a game at home. No, they got to go on the road to Jersey to play this game after being out for 11 nights. don't love that. They've got some good scores from what I've seen. Kareem Thomas is the leading points getter right now for the Big Green, averaging 19.5 points per game so far this season for this squad. Was primarily a bench asset last year for the Big Green. He's now starting and doing very well in that role. And then there's Brandon Mitchell-Day, who kind of operates as this team's 5. He's 6'8", but pretty much plays the center position. Did that last year as well in spots for Dartmouth, averaging 11 and 11 so far this year. Again, he's big on the glass, but for the most part, when this is your biggest guy on the court, yeah, that's a problem. They're going to also play a couple other somewhat big guys. I'm talking about, I guess. The other forwards are Jaden Williams, who's 6'6", and then Jackson Munro is also going to play one of their bigger spots. Again, he's 6'8", is Munro. He's a senior kind of forward centerish for this team. They're going to play both Munro, though, and Mitchell-Day at the same time, and Munro is really going to operate as their 4, while Mitchell-Day is going to be the center. So I'm not really impressed with anything Dartmouth does. They lack size, and we're looking at a St. Peter's squad. And again, right, they've got Kareem Thomas, who's going to score. But for St. Peter's, Brent Bland is their leading guy. TJ Robinson also is averaging 12 points per game. Not a particularly huge team either, if I'm not mistaken. I think Ja'Kai Gupton might be there. Ja'Kai Gupton's going to be playing the 4 for this team. He's 6'7", I believe, and there's Jaquan Ewing as well, who is their 6'9" center. Again, 2 smaller squads, but I think St. Peter's has a better all-around team, and we're looking at Brett Bland, the senior point guard who has been at St. Peter's now for 4 seasons. He's averaging 17 points per night, and then their freshman TJ Robinson, who's averaging 12, but he's dropped pretty much 10 points in every single game for this team. I like St. Peter's quite a bit here. I think they are the better team on paper, and then on top of that, okay, you are seeing a team in Dartmouth who hasn't played in 11 nights, and beyond just that as well, the game's at St. Peter's. So I'm going to be going with the Peacocks here. Again, they are 2-3. And oh, by the way, one of these teams have beaten a Division I opponent so far. One of them haven't. And obviously, right, St. Peter's has won 2 Division I basketball games, beating Fairleigh Dickinson and beating UMass Lowell. I'm going to be taking the Peacocks to pick up their 3rd Division I victory this year by beating the Dartmouth Big Green at home. Again, they are slight favorites in the spot. St. Peter's minus 115, Dartmouth minus 105. So yes, give me the Peacocks to get it done at home over the Big Green. On now to our 3rd best bet of the video as we move to another mid-major game. Of course, every game is mid-majors today as we go to Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Did I get that one? Girardeau? I think so. That's obviously the home of Southeast Missouri State, as I think this is the first time ever on the channel we have talked about the Red Hawks of Southeast Missouri State, as I do believe they weren't even featured last year on the channel. We had nothing to say about them in the OVC, one of the conferences, I'll be honest, I don't really talk much about because, well, there's not much to talk about with the OVC. I'll just say that. And the OVC, I'll say, has not been particularly kind to us at times. Anyways, though, I mean, I guess we've talked about, Tennessee Tech and SIUE some, so it is what it is. And the Leathernecks of Western Illinois. Anyways, though, I'm going with Lipscomb to go on the road, the Bisons to beat the Southeastern Missouri State Redhawks. SMO, what do they call them? SMS? There's some, I think that's what they call them, the Southeast, I believe so. They have a hyphenated name. SEMO, there we go. That's what I was looking for, not SMS. SEMO, the Redhawks of SEMO are 2-5 this year. They have played some competitive games. I'll give them that. They went to Missouri and played a very tight game against the Tigers, only losing by 5 points. But ultimately, this is a 2-5 team. Their best win this season, by far, the Cal Poly win. I don't think Cal Poly's that bad, honestly. Like, Poly's pulled up some really big victories this year. They beat Utah. They went to Seattle University and won a game there. And SEMO beats Cal Poly in a neutral site game. It was a tournament game, if I'm not mistaken, right? In Flagstaff, Arizona, SEMO wins the game as slight favorites. A little surprisingly, though, honestly. SEMO's other victory is over Webster, which I believe is a Division II school. Their loss is St. Louis in a blowout on the road. The interesting one, though, they go to Missouri and only lose by 5 points. Which, when we look at all their other games, that does stick out quite a bit. They played at St. Thomas, Minnesota. The Tommies, obviously, out of the Summit League, losing that game at home by 12 points. They go to Iowa City and play Iowa, lose by 29. Expected the Poly victory, and they went to NAU to play the Lumberjacks, in which they lost by 7 points. SEMO, led by Luke Almodovar, Probably butchered that one, but he is their leading scorer with 15 points per night. Braxton Stacker averaging 14 as well. Almodovar, senior player who is in his first year of Division I college basketball. He's been huge this year, dropped 29 points in their victory over CP, Cal Poly. He scored 29 points in that game. He was absolutely massive. Only dropped 9, though, in the Northern Arizona game. But, all fairness, I will take the NAU game with a grain of salt. That was the second out of a back-to-back for the Redhawks. Braxton Stacker is their other leading point getter, averaging 14. He's been at SEMO for the last 3 seasons. Started his collegiate career over with Murray State. He averages 14 a night. Again, this is a consistent 10 points per game guy at the very least for SEMO. He does play at the 2, where Luke is going to be their starting point guard. As for Lipscomb, a program that you'd expect to be better than SEMO, at least from what we have seen out of Lipscomb out of the last couple seasons in the ASUN. They have been one of the better teams in this conference year in and year out. Last season, obviously, earning a bid into the NCAA tournament after winning the ASUN, looking really good on their run as well to winning the Atlantic Sun. Obviously, the Bisons ran into Iowa State last year in the tournament, obviously not advancing, but Lipscomb still is a decent team. I don't think the squad's nowhere near as good as what they had last season, I will say that, but I don't think they're horrible. I look at what Lipscomb's done so far this season. This is a 3-4 team, but what I like the most about this team is that they've gone on the road and won, albeit it's only one game, as this team has done nothing but play road games pretty much this season, but the victory that they get at Marshall's huge. Right? I know Marshall has kind of a padded record of sorts, but honestly, not really at the same time. Guys, Lipscomb goes into Marshall and wins. Now, Marshall, I believe today, or no, later, no, it's not tonight. In a week, they're going to go to UNC Wilmington and take on the Seahawks. They're probably going to lose that game. But Lipscomb, as 7.5-point dogs, walk into Huntington, West Virginia, and beat Marshall. Very surprising. And they don't just win. They blow that team out. They beat the Thundering Herd by 33 points, or 23 points on the road. And that's a Marshall team that right now is 5-2. Their only losses this season, again, at Lipscomb and Virginia. They own wins at UMass, at Toledo, at home against Elon. So I think it's a really great victory, honestly, when you think about it. Lipscomb being able to go on the road and win that game. That's their last outing. All that momentum building into this game. The other losses, though, this year, the other games they played on the road have all been losses. At Vandy L, okay. At Mercer, don't love it, but they lost. At UNC Asheville, lost by 5. At Belmont, losing by 7. I don't really care about that. I don't think, though, Southeastern Missouri State's better than Marshall. Actually, we know that. It's just a matchup thing here. I think Lipscomb fits pretty well in this spot. I think they are able to score. I think they're able to put way more points on SEMO, obviously, than SEMO is able to score themselves. It's not an entirely high-scoring team you get out of Southeastern Missouri State. For the most part, they will sit in that 70-ish, high 60s, low 70s-ish margin, or at least point total. I know Lipscomb can score. They've got a couple guys who can take off. Their best player so far this season, from what I've seen, has been Grant Osman, I don't think it's Osman, who's averaging 14.5 points per game. This is a guy who has been at Lipscomb for all 5 years. But again, this is what I've been saying about Lipscomb. Like, they are deep and they are loaded with talent because they've been so good in the ASUN. Osman has been at Lipscomb for 5 seasons and has really never been a frontline guy, really never been a starter for the Bisons. And now here we go, finally put into a starting role. He's leading them in scoring with 15 points per game. He looks like one of the twins from Dude Perfect. I'm not going to lie. Anyways, Ross Candelino has also been a pretty good scorer for them this season, averaging 12 a night. This is another guy who was at Lipscomb last year, rarely played, started his collegiate career at Wisconsin, has stayed the course with Lipscomb, didn't really get to play for this team last year. He is now, and he's averaging 12 points per game. So it's just one of these mid-major programs where they get guys to buy in, and you don't see this all the time, obviously, right? And sure, again, Lipscomb's best players, if they aren't seniors, are going to go on and play at different schools. Like last year, Oganovich was their best guy, who's now at Washington and averaging 20 points per game. He was huge last year for Lipscomb, right? And he's at UW this season. He hasn't played yet for UW this year. Average 20 points per game last year. Let me get that right. He's not played for UW yet this year, but you know what I mean, right? Like, their best guys, Oganovich last season. Goodness, did they have someone else transfer? I think they did. No, Powell just graduated. Okay, so it's just, is Pruitt somewhere right now? No, Will Pruitt graduated as well. Okay, but right, their best players are going to, move on, but they're going to get commitment out of their bench guys, and they are just one of these schools that have, a really deep squad every single year, like a UC Irvine, like a South Dakota State. Like, these teams do build for quite a bit. I'm perfectly fine here taking Lipscomb. I understand they're on the road. I don't think SEMO's got much for them. I'm going to go with the Lipscomb Bison to win this basketball game. Give me them to win on the road at -120. Bisons will get it done. On now to our fourth best bet of the video, and we will go now to 2 back-to-back night games, both of which start at 7 o'clock here on the West Coast. The first one, Potentially one of my favorite bets tonight. I know, again, yeah, I'm taking, okay, I'll say this. Well, actually, you can't tell who I'm picking just yet. I'm taking Cal Baptist. Taking Cal Baptist to go on the road and beat Oregon State. So yes, on paper, that does sound a little scary. We're taking, Cal Baptist to go to Corvallis and win a game. It's really not that far-fetched. Watching both of these teams play this season, I think this is actually quite easy with us going with Baptist. And yes, they've only won one road game all year long. They've only gone on the road once, and Baptist plays right in the WAC, which is all scrambled and whatnot, right? They have like 7 teams in this conference. It's a dying conference, we understand. But anyways, Baptist only won one road game this year. Their one road game, though, is UC Irvine. That's a really good road game to get. All right, going to Irvine, and I know, again, that's like an hour and a half drive to UCI, maybe just an hour drive to UCI, but that's a huge victory. They won a game at Acascure in Palm Springs during the Acascure, not Classic, they just played one game over there, but they went out and beat USD, the San Diego Toros. Baptist is now 6-0. They're 6-0, and they've been handling every team that's been put in front of them. Victories over South Carolina upstate, UC Irvine on the road, which again is huge. I understand Irvine has been off and on this season. They're nowhere near how good they were last year, but still, going to Irvine and winning, I put a lot on that. Baptist then plays and hosts Western Illinois. They win their little rivalry matchup with the school across the block, the cesspool, of course, in its own, UC Riverside. Victory then for Cal Baptist after against Grambling State, and then a win, obviously, over San Diego. They've been good. They are 6-0. They have not lost a game just yet. Dominique Daniels, we've talked about him so far this year. He's absolutely huge. Now, Daniels did not play their game against USD, and I'm not completely sure if he's going to be playing tonight, which obviously is a big factor, but they do have guys beyond Dominique Daniels. Dominique Daniels, we've mentioned him again, a 5'10 shooting or 5'10 point guard for this team who does quite a bit. Obviously severely undersized. This team does have other scores. Again, obviously Daniels is their best player. I'm not going to deny that, right? Like this team does go through him quite a bit, but there are a couple other scores that I don't mind on this team. The main one being Martell Williams. He's averaging 15, and obviously we saw in their last game against USD, somebody needed to step up and give them points. And that's why I feel confident, by the way, with Baptist winning this game without Dominique Daniels. They still beat USD by 15 points. And sure, are the Toros as good as Oregon State is? Probably not, and I will get to the Beavs in a second here, but they needed to find production elsewhere, and they did. Again, whether that be, obviously, Martell Williams, who's been the number 2 scorer all year long, or Jordan Muller, who kind of comes out of nowhere. He's a freshman guard out of Germany who's really never seen big volume yet in terms of minutes in collegiate basketball. Of course, this being his first season. Never gone over 20 minutes, or I guess one game over 20 minutes so far in his collegiate career. He's seeing an expanded role with no Dominique Daniels playing. He plays 39 minutes pretty much the entire game and drops 22 points. So this is my point again. If Daniels plays, great, but if not, okay, Martell Williams is available. We've got Jordan Muller as well, who had a big game as well in their last one against USD. I don't think it's complete, Mayday scenario if Dominique Daniels does not give it a go tonight. Again, I don't know if he's going to be playing or not. It's mid-major basketball. I looked up Dominique Daniels today, and I've looked, there's nothing about him, but hell, again, you search the name Dominique Daniels on Twitter, you can't even find a tweet that says he was ruled inactive for the USD game. So you just don't know. I hope he plays. We're not going to know if he plays or not. I still think this is fine without Dominique Daniels, and when it does get pronounced if he's playing if he's playing or not playing, we're going to see the line move a little bit. I'm still okay taking them without Dominique Daniels. Why? Look how bad Oregon State is. The Beavs have been atrocious. And they've been one of the worst teams like recently in college basketball. They've lost 4 straight games. Oregon game, we picked them to cover. They went to Eugene, played their in-state rivals, and covered, I think it was 13.5 points or 14.5 points. They lost by 12. Great. Since then, they've just gone on a horrendous skid against teams that they shouldn't be losing to, I'll say. I get it. You're not a Pac-12 team this season. You're a WCC team for one last year. You can't lose these 3 in a row. Okay, losing 1 or 2 of these, all right, like I wouldn't love it, but okay, sure. They lost all 3 to Evansville, Iona, and UMass. Maybe it was just something about going to the Virgin Islands where this team just could not win, but you can't go down to the Virgin Islands and lose 3 in a row, and that's exactly what this team did. They did play an overtime game against Iona, double overtime game, and they lost. They lost a 4-point game to Evansville and then lost by 8 to UMass, but my goodness, what a just disappointing 3 days, or I guess 4 days and 3 games for the Beavs over in the Virgin Islands. And I've been, watching that team play in that tournament. Josiah Lake kind of disappeared, who's been their best guy all year long. You look to, your center was your primary scorer for most of those games in Noah Ammenhauser. I can't take the squad seriously. You know, Oregon State, you would think, oh, eventually they're going to overcome these losing ways. They're going to get one. I don't think so here. Yeah, they're back at home. They're in Corvallis, but they're taking on a team again. If I'm Oregon State and I want to snap this win streak, and you thought going into the season that this is going to be a bye game against Baptist for the most part, I mean, it is a bye game, obviously. You did not expect Baptist to be one of the 9 teams remaining in college basketball who have not lost a single game, right? Like, Oregon State, their next upcoming bye games are easier than this. They're going to be, well, Vermont's not bad, but they should beat Vermont, who's coming in. Montana State, Southern Utah, like those are games we easily expect State to win. This one, though, Oregon State, this one's hell, man. I'm going with Cal Baptist. Even money, I'm taking the Lancers to get it done on the road. They are still undefeated, and they will remain undefeated with a huge victory in their biggest yet by far, going to Corvallis and upsetting the Beavers. Give me, again, the Lancers money line at -110. On to our final best bet of the video, and we go to Stockton, California. For the first time this season, we are talking about the Pacific Tigers as they will be hosting the Sacramento State Hornets. We are going to be fading the Hornets tonight. I don't think it's a good spot at all for them. You know, I was high on Sac State. I'm not going to say I'm completely off the bandwagon, but now seeing this team play away from Sacramento, I know what to expect. I think the Santa Barbara game was smoke and mirrors. I think it was, it was a mirage what we saw in that UCSB game versus Sac State, because since then they have not played good basketball. They went to Davis and played a competitive game. I'll give them that. But I mean, post the Davis game, you barely get by Presbyterian. You're like a 6.5 point favorite in that game, and you win it by 2 points. All right, you go to UCLA, one of the worst shooting performances I've ever seen. We had, 28.5 points on Sac State, and they lost by 31. They go to California, or they go to Berkeley and get blown out by the Golden Bears, who, by the way, just beat UCLA in San Francisco. And then Sac State's last game, again, they specialize in beating up Division II schools. Because yet again, on Tuesday, they beat up on another D2 school. Of course, we're talking about the Gators of San Francisco State. What's next? They're going to play UC Santa Cruz? They're going to play UC I almost said something else. I almost said something else. You're going to play UC Merced? I mean, what's next? Guys, they have 4 wins. 3 of them are D2 schools. And yeah, you tell the Blue Hose, the Blue Hose, to come cross country in Presbyterian and play you. And yeah, you beat them. But I mean, their 3 wins are Dominican, Jesup, I didn't even know they had a basketball team, and San Francisco State. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't take Sac State seriously right now. We'll see. When they get into Big Sky play, maybe I'll reevaluate a little bit. I like Prophet Johnson a lot. I like Jeremiah Cherry a lot. Watching Mikey Williams play against actual programs and actual teams, oh my goodness. The UCLA game, guys, Mikey Williams started that game over 12. I don't know what he finished, but he started that game over 12 from the field. Come on now, he finished 2 for 14. Yeah, he had his final 2 shots. He started the game 0 for 12 against UCLA. He didn't come out for the most part. Mikey Williams really never comes out of the game. Again, like we talked about, like, is Sac State kind of a meme? Are they a joke? A little bit. Mikey Williams is playing. Shaquille O'Neal's starting for them. Prophet Johnson, obviously, is, I think, really good. And obviously, Dr. Shaquille O'Neal is their general manager. But, I mean, and I've said this too, like, when has Shaq, have you ever seen Shaq talk about Sac State? Has Shaq been in a Sac State game? Oh, he's on Inside the NBA. Inside the NBA does like 1 episode a month right now on ESPN. So I've never seen Shaq actually interact with Sac State basketball. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe I am. Like, maybe I'm not looking in the right places. I've never seen Shaq actually interact with this team. I don't know. He doesn't talk about this team. Shaq's got so many things going on, in all fairness. I don't think Sac State basketball is at the top of his list. And sure, again, his son plays here, but I mean, Shakir was at Florida A&M. He was at Texas Southern. I don't know. He's finally starting now. He's actually playing less minutes now than he was last year off the bench for Florida A&M, but whatever. Shakir's not been very good this year. I'll say that. Pacific's really good this year. They're playing in that loaded West Coast Conference. I like Pacific quite a bit. They went to Reno, lost a 1-point game to Nevada. You're going to take that. Their only loss this year is cross country going to Boca Raton and playing FAU. Their other wins this season, they just got off a tournament in which they won both of their games in the Sunshine Slam over in Daytona Beach. Pacific goes cross country and wins a 4-team tournament in Daytona Beach. A team from Stockton goes to Florida and wins back-to-back games against Stony Brook and Jacksonville. Are those teams all that great? I mean, Jacksonville can give you trouble sometimes. Stony Brook last night just went to Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles and beat LMU. And Pacific went cross country to beat Stony Brook and beat him by 28 points. Out of the daunted CAA, Pacific goes cross country and beats that team. The other wins this year, the Long Beach State win, whatever, you beat them by 3 points. Okay, I think LBSU sucks, but whatever. Going to Fullerton, winning by 12 points, taking that. Guys, Pacific's been good this year. They've been really good. They haven't had too many games in Stockton yet this year, but they get another one right now against a team that is not ready for this. Elias Ralph has been leading the Tigers in points this season. He's averaging 16 a night. This is a player who started every single game for the Tigers last year. He's been pretty good yet again. And then TJ Wainwright, senior guard out of Los Angeles, started at RMU, was part of the Devin Askew Long Beach State Beach team last year. Boy, were they a mess. But Wainwright, what I can say about Wainwright was, when Askew was either injured or on the bench, Wainwright then assumed the Devin Askew role of, oh, hold on, I'm taking every shot. Because that's what LBSU was last year. They're still horrible this season, and they play in their weird-ass pyramid in Long Beach in a not great area. Anyways, though, TJ Wainwright is on this Pacific team now, and he's playing fairly well. He's averaging 13 points per night. Again, he's not asked to go into a Devin Askew role here, but again, Wainwright has been a pretty decent scorer for them. And then Jaden Clayton has been their other guard who's starting. They really play 2 point guards. I guess actually Wainwright operates as their 2, kind of like how Askew last year was the 1, and Wainwright was just there who, oh yeah, he's a point guard as well, but Askew's going to take the ball up court, and Wainwright's just in the starting lineup as well. Jaden Clayton's going to take the ball up. He is the primary playmaker, but again, Wainwright's going to score more. Clayton averaging 8 points a game, but 6 assists per game. This is a senior from, I believe, Ontario. Played 3 years in Maine, or at Maine. Started pretty much every single game he played for the Maine Black Bears, now starting for the Pacific Tigers, and he's been all right in the spot so far. I'm just telling you guys, there is a huge discrepancy in talent in this game. I believe Prophet Johnson can hoop. I've always known Prophet Johnson can hoop. He averages 16 and 10. I mean, seeing Prophet Johnson last year playing at Fairfield, he's always been really effective. He's been a really good player. The rest of the team really lacks. Just watching them play. Prophet Johnson, again, does a lot for this team. Leading scorer, leading rebounder. Cherry's not horrible. I believe Cherry's hurt, though, if I'm not mistaken. I'm talking about Jeremiah Cherry. Did not play their last game against SF State. I don't think he's playing this game. He's pretty much their center. Got injured in that UCLA game. Was not seen in the SF State game. Was not seen in the California game. I don't think Jeremiah Cherry's playing tonight either. So that's another big boost for Pacific. Don't have to deal with the 5 for Sac State. And then, okay, wait. Oh, it's just Shakir O'Neal down low. Oh, and now it's Mark Lorenov, who's playing down low, who's a freshman out of Rockland, California. Yeah, I'm going to side with Pacific here in a blowout. And oh, by the way, game's not in Sac. Not too far from Sacramento, but it is in Stockton. I'm going with the Pacific Tigers to win. Give me Pacific spread. They should win via the blowout, by the way. Pacific minus 10.5 at home against the Sacramento State Hornets. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college basketball best bets here on November 29th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.